Hey guys, welcome to Gauri's chess guide, 1200 to 1400 level. Let's go e4, best by test, normal, and we're getting a king pawn opening. I play my usual knight f3, and he plays something different. We faced knight c6 before, so this is called a Philidor. He's not really challenging the center too much, so you know what, I'm going to play d4. This is the normal response against Philidor. So you might think, what changed in this position? Well, I was able to get his e5 pawn for my d4 pawn. So we have extra space, as you can see. We have a pawn on e4 controlling his squares on his side of the board, and his pawns are not really touching ours. And we get a nice knight on d4, which is pretty active. Knights are better the farther up they go and the more to the middle they go. All right, bishop g4 attacking my queen. So whenever the bishop ventures off into the opponent's camp, sometimes it gets attacked and we get more tempo. So I think that this f3 move actually helps our position, and he just moved his bishop twice. So definitely white is better off than before. Because of this situation with f3 pawn and the fact that I've developed my queenside pieces, I actually want to castle not on the king side, but I'm going to castle on the queen side. I have a plan. I see that this bishop being the target on h5, so I can accelerate my attack by doing a pawn storm. Should I do it right now? I could do it. If I want to be, this is supposed to be a classical chess guide. I'm going to castle first because that is the right thing to do. We could play it spicy and play g4. I'm going to play it first castle. This is what I'm teaching. Develop your pieces first, castle, and then you can attack. So that's what we do first. All right. Now this move actually helps me attack him faster. The reason is when I play the move g5, by the way, this is called a pawn storm. Whenever there's an opposite side castling, when people castle, one person castles on the queen side, the other person castles on the king side. One of the strategies is to remove the protection from in front of the king. So how did this move h6 help me? I can sacrifice on h6, I can play g5 or h5, and I have many ways to open the king side. Okay, so I'm calculating here. I can play hg5, but then he's definitely going to play h5. That blocks it, although I can continue my pawn storm. Play h5, but that makes it difficult to play g5. I can also sack, but I really don't think I need to sack here. So they both look very enticing. My gut tells me that I should play g5. Because after h5, this second wave of pawn storming seems to be very good, and this pawn is really weak here, and the bishop is going to get hit. So I like this move also because when you place this, let's compare. This pawn really makes his bishop and knight really sad. If I'd played h5 instead, that would have probably helped out his bishop a bit more. So I guess that's why my gut told me to play g5. I'm wondering, okay, never play the f pawn. Never push the f pawn, guys. I mean, especially since you castle. So now there's fork. There's bishop check. There's takes. I have a problem. I have too many good moves here. I don't know which one I should pick. I really don't know which one I should pick here. This is good. I'm going to go with my gut again. h5. If he goes here, I go g6. I know I could have forked, but I think winning a piece, this bishop has no moves. It can't go here. Can't go here, here, or here. It really can't go anywhere. And I also open up his king. So yeah, black's completely busted in this position. I've castled. I've got my pieces out to great squares. The only thing that needed development was the bishop, which I will probably bring in the game after this guy goes. Then this is going to come over here, right? Meanwhile, watching TV. They're not doing anything. Watching YouTube. This was doing something, but it had to go back because of my pawn storm. This bishop is imprisoned. Yeah. So definitely, as you can see, this bishop out and about really didn't help. Okay, that one's a free bishop. I'll get that. I have a threat of this. Okay, let's bring the final minor piece in the game, shall we? And now that I think about this, I can actually sacrifice my bishop, and then my queen would zoom in the game, and that's going to be a checkmate. Let me go ahead and do that. So, if he takes, it's mate. Good game. A miniature game. Showed some mistakes from the opponent. I think this was a game of strategy and some tactics that came from the strategy. So let's recap. E4, E5, knight f3, knight d6. So Philidor opening. I really like the d4. Whenever they don't challenge the center, you just challenge it, the pawn. So this knight was really powerful. As you can see in the game, how powerful this knight became. This was fine by the opponent. And here, once again, I want you guys to understand that just develop your pieces and castle as quickly as possible. So in this position, bishop e7 followed by castling is the right way to go. Just castle quickly. You don't have to develop this bishop immediately. You can kind of wait. Let's get the most important things out of the way. And so this was, unless he was going to castle on the queen side, right? Which he did not. So did you need to play this before this? I don't think so. So a pretty good tip, I think, is in the king pawn openings, especially when you're playing black, you can actually leave this bishop at home and castle first. And then when the coast is clear, then you develop your bishop. I've noticed this among thousands of games I've seen. The people who do that come out safe when they castle first. So this is a pretty important tip. So now the bishop got harassed. And yeah, this was already, black was in big trouble here. Maybe he could have started his own pawn storm. Although I think it's already too late here. I have way too many attackers. I'm just ahead in time, as you can see. My pawn storm has started thanks to some of these moves, right? 1, 2, 3. Those 3 moves were helping me, and I'm playing white, so I'm going first. If you add that up in a race of pawns, definitely white's gonna win. So g5, and this was a miniature game. Okay, on to the next one. E4, we'll play e5. See how it goes. What is he playing? Knight f3. That's the most common reply. And a Scotch. Okay, so we had the Scotch in the 1000 rating level, and I played bishop c5. And then they wonder what's going to change this time. There was knight c6 and queen f6. This is the plan that we had in the first video, up to 1000 series. So I wonder, this was the most common in that. Okay, so bishop e3 is the correct move. Queen f6 still we can actually play. And if he plays this, we'll take the bishop. So he actually plays correct theory here. All right, my knight can't go to f6, so we'll go to the second best spot. I'm curious to see how this is going to go. So this is correct. Supporting the knight, making sure that it blocks the whole attack. So one of my plans is to play castles and d5 because I need to get the bishop out. Of course, I can also settle for d6, but d5 would be the best. Bishop d3. Is that a blunder? Yeah, I think white is winging it now. That's a blunder. I'm going to say thank you for the pawn. Just counting, the attackers and defenders. There was 1, 2, 3 guys. Only 2 guys here. I want to make sure that there's no fancy business after bishop takes d4, queen takes d4. There's no check. if there was a fancy check somehow, I would lose my queen. So since I know that, I'm not gonna play this. Is he trying to play at knight b5? Maybe. It's not a threat right now. I could prevent it if I wanted to. c6 possible, knight c6 possible. c6 might actually be quite good here. I'm gonna play c6. It limits the knight a lot. I don't have to worry about this move anymore. Now I could castle. So I'm up a pawn here. Now I have to worry about my bishop. I really need to get this guy out. So that's my priority next. Maybe d6 is gonna come. I can also improve my knight a little bit more as well and get my rooks connected. This is the top priority in the opening stage. Okay, he plays this move. Okay, d6 time. Don't need to be fancy. Knight e2. This knight is not really better off here, so I don't consider that as a tempo, time gainer. Where should I move my queen? This seems good. Keeping an eye on the pawn. And next move, I can go here and just develop my pieces. Okay, so I think my opponent wants to start attacking with the f pawn. So you can see that at this level, there's more strategy here. Since I'm up a ton of material, I think I can just start trading. It's a little different than my first game, actually, with bishop g4. Notice that I castled first. So now if he plays this, I don't mind. There are two reasons. I'm not underdeveloped, and his king is here. So I don't really mind if he pushes his pawns. It's a different story this time. So my rooks are connected. This means that my opening stage is complete. I've done a decent job. It took me a bit longer because I had to go pawn grabbing. And since it was a center pawn, it was okay. It was justified. But if it was some side pawn, I wouldn't have done it. But there's no noticeable difference in our positions, and I have the extra pawn, so black is winning in this position. So my next plan is going to be, considering if my opponent doesn't do anything dangerous, rook d8, rook e8. And now I need to start trading stuff, and also trading away his advantages here. So okay, rook d8 first, protect the pawn. So one of his advantages here is this pawn is kind of limiting my bishop and my knight. So playing something like d5 wouldn't be so bad. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. I noticed that if he were to take my pawn, he would lose his rook. And if he were to take my bishop, I could take back with the knight. And then his knight's no longer attacking my pawn. So my pawn is safer, even though it's only guarded 3 times and he's attacked 4 times. One of them doesn't count. So I'm still safe. And also notice that I'm activating my rook with d5. This is one of the concepts later on that you'll see. This is called a pawn break. So that when you trade pawns, what happens? Your pieces come alive like this. You start opening up several diagonals and files, and you can actually use these. You'll feel the difference immediately, right? So that's the point of pawn breaks. I also call this in my streams breaking the dam. Several different ways to say pawn break, breaking the dam, explosions, whatever you want to call it. Okay, d6. Wait a second. So here I have to take some time. I'm a full rook up. He's threatening to take and fork me. I can take his queen then. There's a lot of weirdness going on here. So I can just move my knight, or I can try to be greedy and save my bishop. Let's calculate that. If I go here, he takes my knight, I take his queen. He takes here with check, take back, he takes here. Now, I got his queen, but I lost 2 rooks and a knight. Or I could save my knight and just lose. So that's the thing. So if I could get 9 and lose 13, So that's -4. Or I can move my knight and lose my bishop. -3. It's very similar, right? And I also win a pawn, so it's really similar. On the one hand, the other one simplifies the position a lot. The other one really simplifies the position. This is a very tough call. Very, very tough call. I'm not sure. My gut tells me that I should keep the knight. So I'm going to go with my gut here. I'm going to play knight f5. I think that my pieces are really active here, and like my queen is active. His queen won't be that active. My knight's good. His king is actually quite unsafe. My rooks can have open files. So actually, this is not bad at all. I'm up in exchange and a pawn. So I'll take this version over that. I can go back and check which one was better. So what's he gonna do next? The problem for him is if he tries to, activate his pieces, I'll just go where he is and force a trade. Okay, so this is an important thing. If I go here, is he gonna sacrifice his knight and go for some perpetual? This is possible, but I'm gonna do it anyway. You might think, what's going on here? He's gonna do it. Let's see if he does sacrifice. All right. I'm gonna accept sack number 1, but I'm gonna decline sack number 2. So I'm still getting a knight 3 points for 2, right? Yeah, I'm gonna accept the sack number 1, but then I'm gonna say no thank you to sack number 2 and just go king g7. And I'm gonna use the newly minted open lines. So instead of me getting checkmated, I'm gonna turn the tables and go for checkmate myself. And because I'm up a rook here, I know I'm the one with all the power here. Bring the queen in now. We can go here, threaten mate. You can go here, threaten mate. When you're in the middle, magical things happen. Magical things happen. I'm gonna go here. See, now I'm protecting my king from the check. And I'm threatening mate. He's gonna play f4 probably. He doesn't play f4. So he's defensive here, very defensive. All right. Let me get my rook in the game. He's gonna play here, probably. I'll play here. I want to keep an eye on this square for my... This rook moves up. I'm gonna check him on e1. Plays there. That's a clever move, actually. That's a clever move. Change of plans. Let's go back and block this. And he lost on time. Okay, so this was a pretty good game. Let's analyze. What did he do wrong? Let's check. So this is all theory. Scotch. And finally he played the bishop e3 and c3. This is correct. Now I played knight g7. That is correct. Yes, bishop c4 is the right move here. Not bishop d3. Had he played bishop to c4, I could play castle. I could play b6, bishop b7, castle queenside. I've seen many lines here. Castling is probably the most common. Castles. Now, bishop b6, it's getting a little bit complicated now. The reason I played this is not because I want to move the same piece again, but if I played this, there might be some tactics. We might want to play d5. So bishop b6. Now with f4. Knight takes d4. C takes d4. And d5. And we blocked his pawn. So now we see why bishop b6 is helpful. We're not showing our hand. That could have been an idea. In the game, though, he played bishop d3, unfortunately, and that led to losing a pawn. And then what happened after that? Knight d4, Bishop d4, c6. Yeah, looks like it was a fairly clean game. The position of interest is the moment when he offered this. It was this position, right? Yes. This position. This is the position of interest. I was torn here what the best move was. Looks like... Okay, it is still winning, but oh, I had a better move here. Knight g6. This is cool. I call this the magnet trick. Magnet. The point is, if he were to take my knight, I save my knight, but I also use this knight as some sort of a magnet for the bishop. That is very clever. I haven't seen that pattern. You learn something new, right? I haven't seen this particular one yet. So I played knight to f5, but if I had played this, I get time. He has to defend his knight. So then I get the extra move to go back. That was very cool. So neither was the answer. This is fine. It's still winning. -4. But the other one was -6. So nice. Let's move on to the next game. Okay, this time we're playing at 1234. King pawn opening. And we get an immediate d4 without any knight f3s this time. Alright, the reason we played e5 is to play e takes d4. And he offers another pawn. We are gonna... So this is the Danish Gambit, by the way. We could actually... So there's a few things we could do. We can accept the pawn. I know that there's one more weird move here. And I'm going to show it to you guys. Queen e7. Not the classical move, but since they're breaking some rules, we can break a rule or two to capitalize. Because they haven't played the best moves, right? White hasn't developed any pieces. Against Danish Gambit, this might actually be useful. Okay, so now I can play d5, I believe. The pawn is pinned. And I know that my opponent is completely surprised after this move. So something a little bit new against Danish Gambit. He's probably like, I never seen this before. What's going on? Everybody takes this pawn, right? Everybody takes the pawn. Okay, so this queen is going to be... Oh yeah, this is working out way better than I expected. So he's going to lose his knight. So the trapper became the trapped in this case. I'm sure some of you guys know a Danish Gambit and how dangerous it could be when you take too many pawns. I expected this move. So I can just play... I can play queen, knight f6. And I can also move my queen. What's simpler? Knight f6 takes, then he has a check. Still okay for me. This feels a bit simpler. I'm gonna go for this move. Keeping the... I want to meet this move with a check. So I don't want to double my pawns and it gets a little messy. I'll gladly take this piece. So what is White's best chance here? Not sure. Not sure at all. Maybe he can just develop and turn that into a sacrifice. Make some lemonade out of this lemon. Probably knight f3 takes castle. If I were to accept more, he'll pin my queen. I don't know. Perhaps. I think that's the best way to do it. Some knight developing move and castling. Maybe here. I saw this. I was just going to play knight c6, and I didn't think it made any difference. I'm just developing my knight to a good square. The queen is actually not that better off on a4. Of course, he could castle queenside here. So that would be a way to make the move make sense. I'm just going to take the piece then. I could have also played bishop d7 maybe. That was interesting, because then I don't let him castle, because I'm attacking the queen. Perhaps that was a slightly better way of doing it. Not sure. We'll see. He's thinking here, bishop to c4. That does not help. I just play queen takes e4 check. Ooh, so now if he blocks with the knight, I can actually try to win another another knight with d3. It feels a little bit wrong to do that, but I think I'm gonna do it actually. Why not, right? Yeah, let me play d3 here, and it's a little bit greedy, but I'm gonna do it. Oh, I guess he could play one move that. No, it doesn't. There's no moves here. I'm threatening mate as well, right? Literally mate. So there's not much he could do. Castle queenside? Oh, look at this one. Castle's queenside. Take the knight, checkmate. Oof. Ooh, that's a nasty one. I'm already up a piece, and if I grab more, they're using the same rules that we were, espousing. So focusing on development is a good idea here. Wow. That is amazing. I can't take that as checkmate. What a way to save the knight. Can't touch this. Can't touch this. I can't touch this because of this. Oh no, that is completely wrong direction. That doesn't win anything. Okay, so this is just tactical patterns. So we can see at this level, knowing the typical checkmating patterns, the most commonly occurred ones, this is called the opera mate. There's a famous game, Morphy versus Count Duke, where Morphy did this mate. So if you saw that game, if you studied that game, then you will never forget this mating pattern, right? Okay, but now it's just pretty much gone. I'm up 2 pieces. Extra pawns, you name it, I got it. Yeah, this is a tough position for white. I don't see any way out of it. No queens, no complications. When you can fight back somehow, at the higher level, they try to kind of muddy the waters. They try to mess it up a little bit so that, you're confused. But here, there's nothing that white could do to confuse me. Or anyone. Some people might be thinking, challenge accepted. You can't confuse me. But okay, this is really hard to get confused in this position. There's nothing, no resistance. Wait, I'm confused here. Just kidding. I'll just protect it. This pawn. Next move, I guess I should just keep developing. I'm going to play this, and the knight's actually trapped. So that's my plan. But he's going to go here. Well, he should go there. And then probably I'll just develop my bishop and get my rook out. And then I'll plan the next step after that. Alternatively, I can also play knight g4, hitting that pawn. So that 2 good options here. Once I got my bishop out, my rook out, then I'll think which piece can be improved from that position, right? That's another thing you can think about. Maybe pawns could be improved. Start pushing more pawns. I wouldn't be surprised if white resigned here, but I doubt that's going to happen. Yeah, bishop e3. This move does not do much about it. If I take it, though, he opens up his guy. So let me just do that. I want to make sure that this rook is not open. Still threatening to play h4. So now that he played here, after this move, yeah, I might play this or just this. I think I prefer this. There are many ways to win this position. F3. That's creative, but suspicious. Okay, take. He does get his rook open, but you know that my pieces also get open now. So after rook f3, I'm going to play bishop g4, developing my bishop for tempo, for free. And then I have a bunch of choices how to proceed from that position. Moves back here. I can trade off more pieces. Let's go for the most common prosaic way. Trade the pieces off. Okay, this rook is watching TV, not doing anything. Let me throw that in there. Double the rook. Now every piece is playing. This pawn, potential baby queen. It is a baby queen. We're gonna make it clear a path for it. You know I teach a lot of kids with all these references. So apologies if you don't like it. But that's just how I taught for many years in schools. So let's get this baby queen all the way down. What can you possibly do here? I don't even know a move that could hold it, like just for even a little bit longer. It's pinned. This bishop cannot move away from this diagonal because then d2. But if you do move it, then I can trade or bring the other rook in. Yeah. Okay, he resigned. Good game. Let's analyze. E4. Yeah, so it was a Danish Gambit. And I wonder what is the... After this, I could just take the pawn, of course. That's the main line. But this queen e7 is actually quite a venomous move. Queen e7. I saw it in a book somewhere. Bishop d3, then d5. Already he's in trouble. And he lost a piece. Yeah, that was it. Let's actually take the time to explore what happens after dc. Going back. So if dc3, excuse me, here, he's not going to take with the knight. He's going to play bishop c4 and give me another pawn. And so this is one of those crazy gambits where black is up 2 pawns, but white has all this activity. Gotta be careful. Things can go really bad really fast here. For example, I don't know if I played knight f6 or something. e5. Game over. Already it's instant game over. I mean, it looks really bad. Even if black could survive somehow, I don't know, knight g5. This is not really the way that you want to do it, right? I mean, also bishop f7 is possible. And then, yeah, this is not the way that you want to start out your opening. So for that reason, we should just not take everything. In this position, actually, the main theory goes, give back d5. 1 pawn. And then you can, now you open the bishop, and then you can develop your pieces. So that's the main move. Or give back earlier. After bishop c4. Yeah, so here you can give back. You can also give back earlier. So the main theory, CB2. Sorry, this is an even better way to give back the pawn. And then knight f6. The very famous trap here. Oh no, my queen. Did black just lose? Just kidding. Give me that queen back. So after this crazy event, surprisingly the material is equal. We lost a queen for a piece, but we won the queen back for a piece, and it's equal. So that's the main line, and I know my opponent knew it, so that's why I played queen e7, and it worked out very well. All right, on to the next one. Okay, this time we're playing at 1200. b3. Already kind of new. Let's play d5. This is called a Nimzo-Larsen. He's not really controlling the center, but well, now he is. Didn't really go along with his plan though. Blocked his bishop. So now we have a different type of game. It's almost like as if I played the queen's pawn opening. So I'm gonna go ahead and castle like I normally did. Now you might be wondering, why did I bring out my bishop so early? Because this move, you know, they're breaking the principle, so you can break them too a little bit, right? I can afford to bring out my pieces. So now I've castled. Everything is nice. Now it's time to develop the bishop, develop the knight, but before you do so, try to have a plan as well. How can I make the knight better? I can do this before I play knight c6. And now in knight c6, I've conquered the middle. So you can see he has no center pawn, and I have one in the middle and one protecting it. So black's position is very good. So it looks like he is going to castle, I think. In the meantime, I'm going to just develop my rook. Maybe I'll think about playing rook here and e5. Whoa. That seems a little bit too much. He's pawn storming me. But where's his king gonna go? Also, aren't my pieces more developed? Yeah, moving the same piece twice. This is a clear violation of the rules. Not in my book. Not in my book. Okay, so going away from the center, moving the same piece twice. How do we punish this? Alright, let's open up the middle. His king's in the middle. I think it's time. Time to open the middle. So if he goes ed4, I open the dam. Oh, this is giving me too much. This is a free pawn. So he thinks he can trap my bishop. That's what he thinks. I can always just move this one step, and then I'll be fine. I'm considering if I should even bother reacting at all. I shouldn't, because his knight's hanging if he goes h5. Yeah, it's one of the good things about controlling the center is that you attack all the sides. So in this position, I'll actually take with the f pawn. I want to open this rook up so I can checkmate faster. And also I didn't want to open up this file. So it looks very, very good so far. He wants to take this pawn. I can actually just simplify and just take this. That's one way to do it. Should I? I can also play queen d7 and rook a d8. This looks very effective. Yeah, I'm enticed by this. Queen here and rook here. I know he's going to castle, but then he's still in a pin, so it makes sense that I add pressure on the pin piece. They say that this is the saying, put the PP on the PP. Put pressure on the pin piece. So that's exactly what we're doing here. He defends. All right, knight d5. Let's get that bishop out of there. With tempo. It does block my queen and rook though, but I can always move it. Maybe e3 now. I'm just flooding in my pieces. And white won't be able to resist. For example, bishop here, knight here, attacking the rook. Rook moves, knight takes bishop, then I open up everything with tempo. So, looks like white is losing the house here, the full house. Queen d3. How does that help? I'm just going to grab the bishop. Now let me, again, put the PP on the PP. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a lot of material. Okay, he finds a way to defend. That was a decent defense. I just had an idea to switch my target. Maybe I can actually use this diagonal as well. Alright, I'm going to go for the switcheroo. This is also, by the way, I can move my knight as well. This is completely fine. I have too many options again. I'm gonna go for the switcheroo. Since that plan didn't fully work out, this might. I want to get my queen in here and checkmate that way. So his queen is gonna fight for the square, and I'm gonna try to get that queen, bait him out of that square, pretty much. So this one I can go here or here. It's my choice here. I like this one. Attacking the bishop and the queen. Notice this rook is still very much active. It wasn't a mistake to play there. It's running out of squares. I could take the bishop next if he moves his queen, and that should open up even more avenues. So that's the plan. This is probably the best move for white here. Then I take, queen takes, pawn takes, bishop g5, pinning that, king c2, rook c8 check. That was the plan. So I can just take the bishop, and it really opens up everything. Yeah, this opens up everything. So I'm flooding in. King is wide open. Can't move the knight. My threat is to play this rook in here, and that's basically checkmate, unless he gives up his queen. He tries to defend. I appreciate that, but now I can, this queen was guarding that, I just take the knight. Notice that all of our pieces are harmonious. They're working together. Meanwhile, white's pieces aren't working together as well. Threatening to take the rook. If he takes, I take back, check, goes here, and checkmate. All right, we won on time. Good game. So where did the opponent go wrong this time? Let's see. So b3, I decided to just develop my pieces to the middle, nothing major. I think d4 was a little bit, doesn't go, the moves have to build off of each other. I would have played knight f3, e3. Wouldn't have blocked my bishop in. And then I guess slightly tempo was the mistake. A lot of tempo was spent, right? h3, a3. So white didn't use the extra move that he had as white. Didn't really use it. And then here, it's still not too late. He can still castle and everything is okay. But went for this crazy attack, breaking the principles. And here, d4, computer says the best move. He gave me a star. I'll take the star. Yeah, and then everything went wrong for white afterwards. Okay, that's what happened in that game. On to the next one. All right, our following game, played e4. Opponent responded with Sicilian. This is a 1397 from France. d6. So he knows the right setup in Sicilian. I'm going to play d4 and get that knight to d4. Good active square. This is correct. Hitting this pawn. So black is playing the dragon. So definitely at the higher 1400, close to that range. They know some of the theory, clearly. Okay, so remember that first game with the pawns? We're going to repeat that too. It's a nice way to close out the 1200 to 1400 range. Same opening line. Yeah, he is well prepared. So before I attack the side, he's trying to muddy up the waters in the center. So I'm going to play something. So here he's trying to open up the center. I'm going to lay a small trap here. Play queen e1. If he even thinks about taking this pawn now, that rook is going to meet. Yeah, it's going to be bad. So this move probably threw him off. This is not the main move. The main move is to take the knight and then take the pawn. This is a slight variation, a curveball. So I'm curious, that now he's on his own and not some book or some course. Yes. First move out of theory. Mistake. So that's a full piece. And he's losing a full piece. My knight needs to go back. What would be a great square for the knight to go back to? I guess going back to the starting square is fine. Where we were. I was thinking of doing this fancy stuff, but actually this knight is very, very weird on b4 if it can't relocate. Center is usually the most safest spot for the knight. Take with the pawn. I want to keep my knight here. So as you can see, we are up a piece now for one pawn. I have to be a touch careful because it is opposite side castling, and in those positions, make sure we don't get mated or something. Alright, I'm going to go here. I like that this could lead to more trades and even some back rank tactics. My queen could end up coming over here. He does this. Okay, so in this position, I actually saw a trick. This is going to get a little complicated. But, yeah, it's a little complicated. I can play a few, there are a few tricky moves here. Knight d5 is one of them. Opens a queen. There's definitely some suspicious stuff going on here. I got to figure it out. So let's do it. If I go knight d5, he takes my queen. Then I could take that pawn or the knight. Takes back, I take the queen back. That is just a fair trade. I was able to trade queens. That's all that happened. Is it worth it? Notice I would want to take the rook, but it's pinned from this queen, and I really need that. So perhaps I could play bishop c4 and kind of prepare this in a sense. I'm not sure. Another move is just simply take that. There's one more tricky move, b4. He takes here, take here, takes here, check here. Bishop h6. It's really messy. It's really Lionel. But fun. Let's go for the mess. Slight deviation from our plans. So normal I could just develop my pieces, but I couldn't resist this. So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to get a back rank attack here, okay? Is it risky? Yes. Queen takes. Check. Almost mate. Almost mate. So here's the move that sold me on this. That sold me? Maybe too extreme? Sold me on this is I want to play bishop h6 and then he plays this. And I thought I could play knight d5 after knight d7. So here, knight d5. And then I can actually perhaps take it with more tempo. So I'm going to try that. Bishop h6. Of course, he can also play this, but then it would lead to simplification. He played knight d7. Okay, as expected. Okay, so the move that I was thinking about is knight d5. It's a pretty crazy position, isn't it? Also, this is possible as well, but a bit messy. Another option here is to get rid of that knight. That's the one that's really stopping the checkmate, isn't it? Once again, we have a position where I have a bunch of options. I'm starting to really like bishop h3 first. Cutting the knight off. This looks like a good move to insert. Okay, so he played e6. Now I saw that and I thought I would play rook here now. So that was another, if this doesn't work out, we could try to sack with the rook instead. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. I sack my rook. Let me just double check that. Sack my rook. He takes here. I take here. He takes here. I take back. So at the end of the day, I won a lot of pieces. And now I can choose to trade queens, which I should do. And then we're going to trade the bishops off and win in a very prosaic fashion. All right, I want to win that pawn. Let's go for the pawn. Bishop f1. He's going to play this. Then now it's the end game. It's time to show some end game technique, shall we? Win the pawn. We're going to try to win that pawn and make this passed pawn into a queen. Baby queen. I'm looking to see if these guys can somehow harass me. It is possible that he can harass me, but very unlikely that it's going to work. So let's go king b6. Bishop d3 makes sense. I can also play a4. We don't need to save this pawn per se, because one is enough. Very interesting game. Very interesting tactical game. I'm curious to see how the analysis will go. Wow. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this game's stats were pretty insane. 99.1 accuracy, and my opponent also played pretty well. What a game that was. What a game. Let's look at the key moments. 99. Okay, so this is all theory. And so far so good. Book moves until this part at the queen e1, right? It seemed like this is all proper. And once he played this, he made his mistake. Big mistake. Knight c6, I won a piece. And so in this position, knight db5 was the best move. And then b4 was the best move. Getting this attack. And bishop h6. And here, knight d5 was the best move, but I played bishop h3. I was debating between knight d5 and bishop h3, right? I wasn't sure what happens here. Probably some computer move. c4. What? Sorry, what is c4? I'm sorry. What is this? I am so sorry. How am I supposed to know this is a queen trap? I am so sorry. I didn't see this as a queen trap, okay? You can go here, but I win the okay. I am so sorry that I didn't see the computer stockfish queen trap. Okay. All right. I don't feel so bad anymore. That is insane. That is actually insane. This is a queen trap. Can't go anywhere. Hi. Okay. Okay. So I played the bishop h3 like a normal human being. Rook d1 was good. Yeah, and rook d7 was a way to simplify. This is actually the right decision. And it's winning endgame. Okay, so I guess we'll end on that note. Very interesting endgame. Hope you guys enjoyed the series so far. 1200, 1400. If you like the content, educational, if you found it was interesting, please leave a comment on what you thought was good. And, you know, what kind of things you want to see from this series. And like and comment, share if you can. It helps the algorithm. So thanks again, guys. More to come. Talk to you next time. Gauri Chess Guide, signing out.